Okay, so I thought I would talk about Fargo Season 5. I haven't written anything or made any videos about this season yet, but I've been watching it since it started airing on Hulu and FX a few weeks ago. I think we're 5 episodes in. We're 6 episodes in. So Fargo Season 5, I'm really enjoying it so far. It's got a great cast. Let's see. Well, I really think Juno Temple is doing a great job as Dorothy Lyon. John Hamm is fantastic as this sort of uber-religious, freedom-loving, libertarian, militia-adjacent Sheriff Roy Tillman. Jennifer Jason Leigh is Lorraine Lyon, the CEO of the largest debt collection agency in the country, and just kind of a very awful woman in a lot of ways. She has a big painting of the word no behind her desk. Joe Keery from Stranger Things is Roy Tillman's son, Gator. He does a great job there. Let's see, we've got Indira Olmstead, played by Risha Morjani, who's like a police officer who, very, very Minnesotan, don't you know? And she's married to a guy named Lars, who is a total piece of shit. Somehow Lars has managed to become like the most detestable, awful character in the whole show, despite there being like this horrible sheriff and this wicked CEO woman. Somehow Lars is the worst guy. In the latest episode, he has this whole speech he gives Indira about wanting a wife who will take care of his needs, and both in terms of like supporting him and his manly needs. And this is a guy who spends all day playing fake golf on a really expensive golf simulation machine while she works as a police officer, and they're like $190,000 in debt. A lot of debt themes in this season. And a lot of themes of like creating false realities. Lars has created this false make-believe world where he's going to be a professional golfer. Roy Tillman has created his own like little fiefdom where he's sheriff and the law of the land. And Dorothy created a false reality in her own life where she's married to Wayne and they have a daughter and she's just this nice normal housewife, but we soon learn that she's a tiger. There's lots of little references to other things, like she is very much like Kevin from Home Alone. When the guys try to come and kidnap her, she has all these traps set up and very Home Alone-like. There's also explicit references to Nightmare Before Christmas, even the music from that and some of the costumes from that. It's a very Halloween meets Christmas vibe going on in the show. Dorothy Lyon that's literally 2 characters from The Wizard of Oz, Dorothy and the Cowardly Lion. So there's just all kinds of stuff, mixed in here and woven in here in really clever and interesting ways. And overall, I am just really enjoying the season. However, there's one thing that just sticks out at me and bothers me, and it's something that I guess maybe I'm personally sensitive to. Not long ago, I talked about Stephen King's book, Fairy Tale, and how he just randomly throws in little political commentary asides, like in very awkward places. It was honestly, it was so bad I stopped reading the book, because just out of the blue here and there you would just get hit with this political statement that's like, hey, I'm Stephen King and here's my political views. Bam! And it's not like I even disagree with all of them. It's just very, very jarring, and I think seriously diminishes the work. And I'll link to that discussion in the description so you can see what I'm talking about there. Now, Fargo is, unlike King's book, is a political show. I mean, it's a crime show. There are like the local politics of the sheriff and this very influential businesswoman, and I mean there is political stuff going on, and there has been also in previous seasons business and politics and the way they're all kind of connected, but it's all kind of always been very local, right? It's this Midwest local political scene, the politics of a police department or that kind of stuff, right? But in season 5, which takes place in 2019, there's not a bunch, but just enough like Trump commentary that it becomes jarring. Now, I'm not a fan of Donald Trump. I think he I personally believe that he is a liar and a criminal and a horrible man. Okay, personally, that's my belief of Trump. But if I were making season 5 of Fargo or similar show, I wouldn't feel the need to explicitly let people know that that was my belief. Like, I'm telling the story. Let's say I'm telling the story of this constitutionalist libertarian sheriff who's hunting down the woman he abused a decade ago, and her attempts to escape him, and then all this other stuff going on. I wouldn't feel the need to have a scene where this sheriff is in the kitchen with his current wife, and she starts talking about how terrible it is that everyone's going after Trump, who's this great man. Like, we have already established these characters are on a particular political, side, and they inhabit an extremist version of small government, right-wing America. That's established already. You don't need explicit commentary on Trump. In the same scene, their daughters are watching shows or something on their tablets, and Tillman, played by John Hamm, who is great in this. All the actors are great. Juno Temple, who I've only seen in Ted Lasso with her very British accent, does a wonderful job playing an American and a Midwest, doing a Midwestern accent, but also a different accent, multiple accents. But anyways, he comments on how they need to stop watching TV all day like a couple of welfare queens. Now, I don't know, man, but this just feels like the worst kind of like caricature of this type of person. Not that we shouldn't ever deal in caricatures in a show that's as outlandish as Fargo, but you've already got that kind of established with Tillman, who goes to a house he's actually at a diner, and the first time he meets with this couple, this woman's obviously been being beaten by her husband, and he gives him a whole speech about like the right role, the proper role of a husband and wife. And Tillman is already like, he believes women are property and whatnot, right? He's bad, but he's lecturing this guy who's beating his wife for no good reason, essentially. Now we're getting a good view of what these people are like, right? What their beliefs are like, without throwing in political commentary that's going to be dated immediately, because it's so pertinent and relevant to this particular time that it's immediately going to, like, you watch this in 10 years and it's going to feel dated. Whereas you watch season 1 of Fargo, which takes place in 2006, they didn't feel the need to make a bunch of George Bush commentary, right? That wasn't necessary to establish, the flaws of the characters in that story. And it's not necessary here either. And cartoonish lines like dragging out welfare queens, it just feels like too on the nose. It's low-hanging fruit. It doesn't have a place in an otherwise really well-written show. It just feels jarring to me. And there's other stuff like that. It's not a ton, but it's just enough to where you're like, or at least for me, where I'm pulled out of that story and thrown back into the 24-hour news cycle and all the bullshit, that we have to constantly endure in our modern political scene, and we're already approaching the election season, so where I have like grin and bear this bullshit that we're going to have to deal with. So now I have to deal with that in this show, whereas I'm much more interested in the local politics of the sheriff and his election and all the nonsense that's going on there. I don't need Trump to be thrown in there. I don't need references to welfare queens. It just feels cheap and poorly done. And it stands out so much because the rest of the show is doing such a good job. I don't really have a lot of complaints here. I guess maybe my other complaint is that Dorothy's character, although she's very likable, maybe that's the problem. She's just so likable. In previous seasons, there's always been likable characters, and they tend to be the cops, right? Like the two police officers in season 1 were very likable. In season 2, there was a cop, the father, when he's younger though, he's very likable. generally speaking, this has been a show where the cops are the good guys, which is cool because that, there's plenty of shows where cops are the bad guys. And certainly, in modern America, we've taken a new view of police in the last few years. But like the original movie, cops are good guys in this show. Whereas pretty much everyone else is either unlikable or has enough flaws where even if you're rooting for them, you're kind of like, wow, that person is still kind of a shitty human being. Whereas Dorothy is just genuinely awesome in every way, right? She's lied about who she is and she's got a secret and identity, but she's capable and tough. She's described as a tiger by Ol Munch, who's a great character, and a sin eater who apparently has been alive possibly for hundreds of years. He's a great question mark and wild card in this whole season, and I really enjoy his character. But anyways, I just don't know. Maybe Dorothy is too good to be a Fargo character. At the same time, like, maybe not. Maybe it's fine that we get a season where you can really root for the protagonist. And who knows where they will go with that. So, anyways, that's my thoughts on Fargo so far. I'm genuinely enjoying it. It's fun to see Joe Keery. Is it Joe? Yeah, Joe Keery as Tillman's son Gator. He's, we know Keery from Stranger Things, but here he's a very different character, but also sort of, there's some similarities between Steve and Stranger Things. It's like if Steve in Stranger Things hadn't become a likable character, he might be Gator. Because Gator is an idiot. and kind of like, unlike his father, he's not as vile, but it's like he's trying to be. I don't know. So anyways, let me know what you think of Fargo so far. I think it's doing a really good job at what its core, themes are trying at, or we're seeing so many different people's versions of make believe take place, right? You've got Tillman's, the world he's created for himself that's not beholden to the federal government, that's not beholden to the law. He's got this vision of the Constitution. He's an originalist or whatever, but it's really mainly so that he can create this world where he's the king. Same with Lorraine Lyon's character, where she's created this vast empire of debt collection. So she can just control whoever she wants. She's dedicated her whole life to being in charge of her whole life. Dorothy Lyon has created a false reality. She's make-believe that she's this housewife, but in reality, her reality has caught up with her. Lars, the husband, the piece of shit husband to Indira, has created his own false reality, and she has created it with him. And everyone is sort of living, and even Wayne Lyon, Dorothy's husband, who has now been electrocuted and has kind of lost his mind. There is this sort of almost trauma response going on with him, where he has shut down to all of the overwhelming conflict that has suddenly taken over his life, and he is now living in his own false reality. So there's this theme of false reality and make believe going that's running throughout the season. That's really interesting and compelling and great. And I think that what bothers me about these weird random acts of political commentary is that they just pull me out of that. I get it, because maybe they're trying to link the sort of make believe, pretend game that everyone here is playing with the one that's happened to our country. The whole fake news with fake news and the circles and circles of lies and deception and false realities that we see. But you can actually, I guess here's the point. You can comment on that without commenting on that. If you tell the right story, the story itself becomes the commentary on the realities of our own world. You don't need to explicitly bring Trump into it to be crafting and telling a story that has to do with the kind of false realities that we are now dealing with in the real world, if that makes sense. Sometimes I struggle with expressing the thoughts in my brain, but I am trying. So, Let me know what you think in the comments. Thank you for watching. Thank you for bearing with my rambling. And like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Thank you for watching. Peace.